Hi guys, welcome back to the Perpetua podcast. It's your host James Rankin here, and today I'm delighted, a lot more delighted than he is, to be joined by Paul Warrior. Paul, how are you doing today?
I'm really good, thank you.
You're good.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm delighted to have you here. I've been buzzing all day. I've been telling everyone I've been speaking to.
Oh, I've been telling everyone it's my last podcast. So
you're retiring. No way.
Not temporarily, for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. You need to. I've told you this already. I think you should have your own podcast. So.
Yeah, the world's not ready for that.
Oh, yeah. Fair. Paul, give us a bit of background for those who don't know. Who are you? Why do I want you on my podcast?
I have no idea why you want me on a podcast, but yeah, I guess, Paul Warrior. So I kind of stumbled into the fitness industry, I don't know, like a decade ago. Wasn't my forte, wasn't my background. I skated, listened to a lot of loud music, and was studying architecture and working in the architecture industry for a decade as well. And just kind of found a love for transformation, for change, and kind of came in it not from a sporting background, which means I think I just managed to come at it from a completely different perspective, which was the design and creative perspective, and certainly like a lot of art and performance stuff that I'd been involved in before doing the fitness stuff. And yeah, it just kind of gave me a different view, and I kind of got in it. And when I first got in it, I was instantly interested in programming. Why? What were people doing? What were we training for? So my introduction to fitness was kind of doing a CrossFit workout after watching the 300, which I've said loads of times, watching the 300 and being super inspired by what was going on there and the trainers behind that. And following that, I just kind of decided I wanted to get interested in the programming side, and also a lot in the, the cultural side, alongside creating a clothing company. So the original birth of these things was I created a programming company. I became a coach, and I created an online programming company. An online programming company and a clothing company. Yeah. So I had a few companies running that all felt very symbiotic. So I felt like one worked with the other really, really well. And I just spent the last 10 years kind of trying to figure out what that meant to me, and what that meant to the people around me, or the people I was working with online remotely, and just getting to watch so many people kind of change their lives in a physical sense, or even in using maybe fitness as a platform for them to go make changes in their personal lives, such as creating businesses and things like that. So I just don't know, just kind of fitness culture, programming, kind of just a collaboration of all those ideas. Yeah. Through multiple projects.
Savage. Well, my introduction of you and the reason why I want you on the podcast is, for those who don't know, Paul is my coach. He programs for me, and he has done for, I think this will be the 5th year I've been with you, minus a little hiatus.
What?
Yeah, minus, I think it was 2016. So it's, it would be
20. That's crazy.
5 years this summer, with a little hiatus in there whenever I did my back.
I didn't think you were that old.
I know, yeah. I'll be 30 this year, man. Getting old.
You do not look 30. Jeez.
Oh, yeah. I got that baby face. Until I get the mustache, so then I look a little bit older, but I look a little bit dodgy with that as well. But yeah, Paul has coached me, programmed for me, and for the first, I'd say, 3 years of that, it was very much helping me ask questions of myself in a physical sense, and pushing me to places I'd never been in my training, and doing things I never would have done before, such as a 60-minute row. I think I've done an hour row 3 times, which, unless it was written down, I never would have done. And then in the past, I was going to say the past 2 years, in the past year, literally, we were speaking about it the last day, you've been a big catalyst for me asking questions of myself as well, which a lot of the people who follow me will already know, like I'm big into that, but you were definitely someone who helped bring that out of me, whether you know it or not. So that's why I wanted you on the podcast, because my life's changed quite a lot in the last 3 years, and then again, obviously more recently in the past year. And you've definitely, whether you've intended to or not, been a huge influence. And you can take that whatever way you want. I see it as a massive positive, because I think I'm in a better place physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever way you want to call it, than I ever have been, even though I'm turning 30, which I don't really want to think about yet. But yeah, you've definitely been a big influence on me on that. And it started with your Instagram posts being slightly passively aggressive about how, if you're not willing to hurt and all this sort of stuff. And it's just exploded in the past 4 and a bit years.
Absolutely. I think we've all gone through a journey, right? Me included, in that experience. Like, there was certainly, I think, the beginning of the journey. And like I say, I probably walked a similar journey that you kind of got to experience as the athlete, or maybe more, I don't know if it's the right term, but more like the student, really. Yeah. In which we did begin asking a lot of physical questions and about what the transformation was, with effort as the kind of the epicenter of that, about, well, what can we put in and what we're going to get and how we're going to change and what questions are we asking ourselves in that. And I think as we've progressed, I think me especially and you, is we started to ask even more questions and more questions, because, we come back to the answer, and the answer usually is, yeah, you should probably still train. There's very rarely scenarios where it's like, yeah, you probably still, action should always be the consequence of the discussion.
Nice word. Yeah, exactly.
Action should always be the consequence of the discussion. Even if the point of the discussion, the answer is inaction, it should be still kind of, still should be purposeful. And yeah, as we've progressed, I think we've just started to ask deeper and harder questions about going from within you personally, within your athletic performance, to starting to think about, well, okay, now I've breathed in and I'm this athlete. Now I'm breathing out. Who am I as this athlete in this world? And that's affected by your immediate surroundings, but then it affects it on a wider scale. And I'm kind of thinking about breathing now, and mindfulness kind of things, where you start the mindfulness off, where you start breathing and you're just thinking about breathing. Yeah. And then you start thinking about how that breathing is affecting your body. And then you start to think how the breath out affects the surroundings and the space that it touches. Mm-hmm. Kind of deep, kind of mindfulness stuff. Or maybe not that deep, but you take that kind of concept into your experience in training. And we look at that, how actually we started really internal and really based on, your goals and your transformation. And it's almost a selfish endeavor to begin with, right? Like, a client might not say it when they come to you, but really what they're saying is like, I want to be more badass and look better and beat all the people around me. Yeah. And it might start off as a smaller goal, but quite frequently that's what people are trying to say. Yeah. Especially coaches who come with you like questions like, I want to lead by example. And like, no, what you mean is you still want to be the best person in the gym. which is a terrible goal from a coach. Like, because this is something I've been reflecting on recently, is like, you get that question, or I get that answer all the time. I'm like, what do you want? I want to be a great example. I mean, okay. And then they don't listen to you, or they're not doing the programming and they're not doing stuff, or they're doing extra programming and extra stuff. And I'm like, well, if you're an example right now, what you're an example of? Yeah.
An example to
not commit. Yeah. Not committing to the program, not honoring yourself, kind of trying to beat the members, switching between programs, which can be fine. But, you've got to remember is, if you're doing that, what is the lesson you're teaching your client? So we have to realize, like, and it's always at the start of working with someone, you try and get to their personal goal about what they're trying to change about themselves. Yeah. And often it's physical, and getting to that point of honesty is really, really difficult, of just saying, yeah, I just want to be more badass. I want to do it for me for a bit. And I get that. But like I say, as we progressed our journey and I progressed mine, you start to think about who that makes you. And it's not till you've walked the journey a little bit further that actually, you need course correction across the way, because, if you're a bitter person who's struggling to beat everybody and you want to beat everyone in the gym, and then you get the abs, you get the bar muscle ups, you reach everything you've got, and you've still got that original mindset of beating everyone, you are just going to become a more accelerated version of the person you were who wasn't great. If you know what I mean, you're still running off bitterness, or this happened to me at school, or I wasn't popular at school, and I wasn't good looking at school, or these things happened to me, and you're running off this kind of like victim mentality. You're operating off this negative energy about why you're trying to get better, forgetting that as you transform, you need to grow with that, and you need to grow with the responsibility of transformation and how that affects the people around you. And, I'm as bad as everyone. You get so far down the journey and you're like, whoa, I turned into a slightly faster dickhead. Like, and guess what? That kind of upgrade in ability enhanced the negative trait, because I never worked on the positive trait. So there's lots of physical questions to begin with about transformation, but as the journey goes on, we've got to think about who are we transforming into, and into that vessel we're carrying. Are we carrying an older version of ourselves, doing it maybe for the wrong reasons? Are we taking that person in that vessel as that vessel upgrades in the future?
Yeah, that's it. Like, if I think we've spoken about this before, but like, if the only reason you go to the gym is to go to the gym, and the only thing you get out of it is you get a bit sweaty, or you get a bit bigger, or you get a bit smaller, and it doesn't help transfer into any other part of your life, like, you can't take that level of development that you're doing in the gym and take that into your personal life, take that into your career, take it into everything else, and just use it as an example of how to do it, then I think you're missing the point, and you're maybe not missing the point depending on the person, but you're missing a really good opportunity to learn those lessons and to ask those questions and to then grow and change with that. Something that you kind of touched on there was like, or that we both said, it was like, you start with the training, it starts with the physical questions. Like, with your, I suppose, with your programming and with your training, like, you've worked with, I don't know how many people, but countless. How's your philosophy around that changed in the past, well, let's say in the past 5 years since we've worked together? What do you think you've changed?
Oh, yeah, I mean, obviously just the programming's developed in terms of my experience and my reach of understanding of what it is.
Yeah.
The amount of stuff I'm aware of, the amount of stuff I've seen change people, the amount of stuff I've had, the amount of programs and the parts of programs that I've put together that I've seen a consistent change in individuals over the years. Obviously that stuff has become a little bit more robust, even if it's still open to experimentation. It's become something that's quite vital to it. I just don't think, and I think I'm saying something that someone else has already said. I'm just trying to articulate what I'm thinking is, I used to think I was very much stick driven. Like, I used to, it was very much like, just get it done, just suck this up, just deal with this, take the pain. I think where I think personal growth and growth through understanding as a coach has come, I think empathy forms a bigger part of what I do. Mm-hmm. So I think the things that I like to think about is, I try and put myself into the athlete's shoes when I'm programming workouts. If I can't get myself into the workout, I struggle to write it. Like, I need to think about what the athletes are going to feel like. And so I think empathy, and just vision about bringing things together, about, okay, what's that going to look like in the session? What's that going to feel like? How's that going to affect them? And what are the other benefits outside of just the physical training that they're going to get out of this? Yeah. So you start putting pieces together and you start to think, well, okay, there is a 100 rep back squat. Okay. It's a strength endurance session. It's typically an endurance session because it's more than 50 reps. But then you start to think about, okay, there's a psychological benefit to this. They have to take autonomy. They have to pick their own weight on the bar. They've got to think for themselves. And then they've got to deal with the consequence of their decisions, either knowing that they'd done too much, knowing that they hadn't done enough, having regret midway. And I think if we can start to layer up training with this kind of mental toughness or mental technique element on top of that, we can start to maybe understand and get more out of our why we're writing certain workouts the way we are.
Yeah, I think that's deadly. What about then, like following on with that, maybe things that you're not programming, but like you've mentioned already, breathing and mindfulness. And I know we spoke about, and you've posted on your Instagram, like working with yoga instructors.
Yep.
Like your perspective on that, how's that changed over the past few years and that type of training?
In terms of movement and flexibility, I think, and I said this before, but I was very fixed mindset. Yoga's wrong. Yoga's bad. People are going to, you get yoga, people come into your class, and then the first thing you try and do is you've got this class environment and it's written for, we say it's written for everybody, but really it's written for people who've been doing CrossFit for a year or something, or 2 years, because all the cleaners, 60 kilos, right? You see these yoga girls, I'm saying yoga girls typically, but these people who partake in yoga, and they can squat super deep in the warm up. And then you put a barbell on their back and their spines go into all sorts of ways and they break. And the general opinion was, oh, these girls are just weak, or these guys are just weak because they do yoga.
Yeah.
And actually, no. We were very fixed mindset in the assumption that, weakness was a result of yoga, or even that, like the non-profit guy says, like as if strength is moving a bar.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily strength. I think the definition of strength is to withstand. Very different. If you start to look at it like that, it's not a set of kilograms. It's a resilience, it's a force, or to be able to hold a force. And, so when you take that and then, so I started to rethink things differently when I left the commercial CrossFit gym, and I started to rethink things, and I got an opportunity to work in a yoga studio and add strength and some conditioning, and kind of, they just said, bring what you want. What would you bring to the table? You've got no equipment. You've got 12 yoga mats, 20 yoga mats in a room, and a bunch of people who do yoga who have no idea what warrior conditioning is that they're turning up for. And I had to sit there for I sat with it for a few weeks before it started. And then I started to think about, well, range is a beautiful thing. Movement, people sign up for range courses, ROM WODs and things like that. And then I was like, well, what could we do to this? And it's like, well, actually, what if we take the movements that they do that are very similar and really interesting and try to start to think about withstanding, thinking about adding a strength or a tempo element to it, thinking about the down dog becoming into a pike push-up, and actually could I get all of this group of people, could I get them all doing handstands and handstand push-ups, and is that possible? And starting to develop on that idea. And then I thought, well, also, what if we pick up the tempo? Could we get that heart rate up? How could I operate within a 60-minute window? Where could I operate specific energy system work? And, it looks as simple as, I go, you go, 20 down dog toe taps, 10 burpees.
Yeah.
And rep 20. But it's not, because it's the thing that they're doing. It's the thing that they're useful at. And it's the thing that they want to be good at. They want to be good at doing yoga.
Yeah.
But what I brought to the table was thinking about, okay, cool. Well, how do I make you stronger for everyday life? How do I make that stuff functional? And how do I keep your metabolic system super healthy, and so that you're super fit too? So if you're running for the bus, you're also very capable for that. And as I worked with those instructors and worked with those people, I realized that actually their potential was amazing.
Yeah.
When everyone in the class is doing amazing burpees and doing incredible wall sits, and everyone's starting to get handstand holds and handstand push-ups in a class, like probably more common than a bunch of people who might be strong in a gym.
Yeah.
Because they've all got functional range, or they've got range that we're making functional. All of a sudden that changes. In parallel to this, I start doing a couple of their classes and basically realize someone's coaching me whilst I've got my eyes closed the entire workout. And then you start to think to yourself, I think I'm a good coach. I'm not too sure I could coach you a clean and jerk and teach you like Fran workout with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold on. Okay, this coach it was Grace at the time. I was like, she might not be able to teach a deadlift because she's never taught one before, but she's just taught me to do stuff I've never done before and taught me the entire thing with my eyes closed.
It's unreal.
Without tactile cues. I mean, I occasionally open my eye up to look left and look right to check I wasn't doing something totally stupid. So then you start to look at it and you're like, well, actually, how wrong was I? And as a result, and as you will know through the programming, that stuff, that dynamic version, that kind of hybrid that we kind of came up with it within that class environment has become a humongous part of our training. And I think it's one of the most powerful parts of our training is those, flow days. I think they're super powerful.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's unreal. That's something that I think is really missing, especially in the CrossFit community. It's like, this is the way we do things. You need to be able to snatch 100 kilos for reps if you want to be competitive at a good level. And you need to be able to do this, and this. And you need to go to a CrossFit coach for it. And that's your coach. And that's it. Rather than being able to go, well, listen, there's all these other industries and the coaches there are able to teach people, 40 people in a room with their eyes closed, and get them to do exactly what they say. And I don't know, same as you, I think I'm a decent coach. I don't think I could get a room to do that properly with a lot of movements that we do all the time. Never mind with something you haven't done before. That's
and I think, I'm sure there's coaches who, if anyone listens to this, if any coaches listen to it, I'm sure they'll be like, I can do this. I was like, I was just blown away by the decisiveness and the description that went along with it that made me understand. And I think within our coaching ideology that we've had in the past is, we always felt like more words made us more intelligent. Therefore, we had a hierarchy over the people in the space. So it's like hips back, right? Okay, what I want you to do with your pelvis. And actually, the reality is, it probably took me 2 years of training before I even had proprioception or a sensation over what my hip was.
Yeah.
And, so if people don't have this awareness of their bodies to start with, the language that was being used in the room was really, really simple language. And it's something that, it takes a lot of coaches' confidence to be able to build up the knowledge and then strip it back and say, hey guys, the squat is just sitting down.
Yeah.
We try to complicate it all of the time, but I'm just like, okay, put a chair behind somebody and say, sit on it, stand up, move the chair. Okay, cool, we've nailed it. We've nailed it because the likelihood is most people can sit in a chair and stand up.
Yeah.
But what we say is we're going to do a squat. And the moment we've used that word squat, we've already shifted from a language that they know. And we've already created a barrier between us and them. And, and that's something that certainly I'm more interested in breaking down.
Yeah.
Maybe doing a bad job by using overusing language and overspeaking sometimes, but it's certainly something I consider a lot of when I'm in a room with people about, I really try to, and maybe the wrong terminology, I try to uncoach stuff now where I'm just like, just grab hold of this, just grab hold of this, do this, and then let's kind of see if there was something wrong, and let's try and not use any language that might be confusing. And it doesn't mean that over time you can't upskill somebody's knowledge, but we talk about accessibility in the fitness industry. We talk about accessibility in the health industry, in the nutrition industry, and we instantly create a language barrier between us and them. Inverted commas.
Yeah,
exactly. And I read a post. It was like one of the big name kind of paleo guys or someone who put a big post up about more people should eat healthy, more people should do this, that they don't understand like blood sugars and carbs and all of these things. And I was like, no, they don't.
No.
And it's not saying they don't. It's not saying they're intelligent, but I'm like, no. People don't understand what any of that means. Maybe if you want the masses to eat better and be healthier,
just tell them. Show them.
Maybe use a language that they can relate to, because even like people advanced don't know all of this stuff. They might pretend like they do, but really just people who regurgitating stuff that doctors have written in books. And that's what I find, about the fitness industry, and what I think I learned from the yoga stuff as well is, make it relatable and understandable. Like if they can't do it with their eyes closed, then you've already created a separation. And we're not about, I mean, like I say, I can still get into a room and be pretty grumpy with people, but I can also sit on the floor with them and be very much at their level, because we're all equal, and my job is just to guide their journey.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Like trying to meet people where they're at, regardless of who they are or what they've done before. Like you have to, as a coach, you might know more, you might not, and just meet people where they're at, and then help, like you say, bring them along that journey and guide them on the journey, and then just kind of be like, all right, this is as far as I can take it. Like, go do your own thing. Like, and in my opinion, and I'm sure you're the same, like if you're not creating a level of autonomy with your clients and the people you work with, then what the heck are you doing? Like if you're just keeping people and like shooing them in and keeping them in like sheep and just making sure they do what you say and when you say it, and if in 6 months time you're not coaching them anymore, they go back to where they were because you've used big elaborate words and you've never just broke it down to the most simple form for them. Like you're not really coaching anymore, are you? It's just kind of a bit meh. So on that, something I wrote down here that I wanted to ask you, and you were kind of digging into it there, was what would be your biggest pet peeves in the fitness industry? No, we've got a time limit on this. Yeah, you can't keep going forever. You got to pick two. Pick two.
Wow, it's difficult.
It is.
I think alongside the us and them conversation, which I've already touched on, I think that kind of is something that kind of grates on me at the moment. Yeah. I certainly found that through this whole situation, the inclusivity conversation and argument and the mental health argument has been really challenging for me. And that might be a kind of like, triggering a few people bringing that up. I think before we start claiming our assistance with mental health, I think we have to really, as an industry, rather than just assume that people training with us is great for their mental health, I think we need to understand more about it and understand the effects that big class environments have, that creating cultures and communities have on people, about creating awareness, being able to empower those people, but also have coaches with the confidence that they can deal with those scenarios and deal with people who are there, because some people are going to the gym because they've not got a lot going on. Maybe they're insecure. I mean, I think most people go to the gym for an insecurity reason. Yeah. And I think just watching people claim that and use that as a little bit of a weapon over the last 6 months to justify our behavior and justify our importance has been really challenging for me. Yeah. Because I don't think it's a true reflection for every gym and every community. And I think we can do instantly a lot better. And I think we could. And I think, that starts by doing mental health first aid courses in gyms and really simple stuff and writing an infrastructure for it. And, really being clued up before we start writing Instagram posts about it.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Like it seems that because a lot of coaches see the benefit of physical activity for their mental health, that they then preach that everyone they work with and everyone who goes to their gym gets the exact same benefit regardless, which a lot of people do, but kind of like you said there, like in a group class environment, or even if you go to like a more stereotypical pure gym or that kind of commercial gym, like you go in and there's a big weight section and a big cardio section, and it's like, how many young people and women and people who aren't massive and jacked are intimidated to go to the weight section?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like
me,
how can you say that is beneficial for mental health if you own like a bodybuilding gym and 80% of your members are jacked up on gear, all weigh over 110 kilos, like I'd be intimidated going in there, never mind someone who just wants to get in shape. So where's the mental health benefit? Like you can't blanket statement mental health
Yeah.
just because you get that exact same release. I think you're spot on with that.
No, and I think the moment we start to associate our identity with ability, and you know, we start to sort of say there's a bunch of individuals who are all very similar ability, and some of them look a certain way, which seems to be more applicable to being sponsored by some CBD oil. And then, you know, and then what does that do for that group dynamic? And what does that do for the individuals who have been working just as hard in the gym, but don't get the same recognition? And then don't get the professional photographer and doesn't get all of these other things that come with creating image and creating, basically heading towards influence in the industry. And some people really celebrate the people behind them, but other people will very much hit their self-worth. People who can't get ability, whose their abilities just, you know, can't keep up. Their jobs don't allow them. We can create environments, can be really, we can create, or the culture in the industry can create, and not on purpose, but can create sort of toxic situations for some people. Yeah. People who are accountable, people who become dependent on gym environments and dependent on coaches. Yeah, it's great that you have a connection with a client and you want to work together for 5 years. But, you know, I'm quite content that you go off and do your own thing every now and again. And it's like, yeah, go do it, dude. You know your own rule, you know your own thing. There's a lot of autonomy in there. But there needs to be that kind of, and it doesn't always work. And don't get me wrong, I've never been perfect along the journey. It's one I'm walking through. But I think we need to just be aware that the gym, and certain gyms especially, not especially specific ones, but certain scenarios can create toxic environments. And I created an environment originally that was built around performance. Like my selfish goal was to get a group of athletes who I liked, amongst other ones, to get them to regionals. And I did it with a stick. I did it hard. And there was probably, and you know, there was like definitely more focus put on to certain people at the time. The gym was pretty badass. Everyone was badass. And then there was some extra people that were double badass who I was helping as well. And, but at the end of the day, there was more people than there was spots, you know, and you had to make hard decisions down the line. And that's a difficult scenario for some people to be in. And for some people, it ended their fitness journey. I mean, and that's the nature of sport, right? That's any sport. Yeah. But to look at that, you have to take ownership of the environment you've created and go there and go like, cool, like I can help make a gym of badasses, but I'm already ostracizing people where I can't see the vision of their potential. And that's based on my opinion. Yeah. It's an educated one, but at the same time, I'm in that instance, I'm making decisions that cut people from teams, and that there's a consequence. Yeah. So, you know, the point I'm making is the environment isn't always great, and we need to accept that, and we need to work harder at it. It's not trying to be a blanket judgment. It's a understanding that, hey guys, like, let's do better. Let's hold our hands up rather than claim something we're not, because 600,000 people in the UK said they need the gym for their mental health. 600,000 people. Yeah. That's a lot of ownership for a community that I feel part of. Yeah. And you're part of. That's a lot of people that are depending on coaches and gym owners for a lot. And I saw a lot of people say, yeah, our gym should be open. And a lot less people go, oh shit, there's a lot of people who need help. Yeah. You know, and don't make it about your gym. I don't care who you are. Like, don't make it about your gym. Make it about the people and about what they need. And they needed guidance and support through a harsh situation. And all we had to talk about was our gym. And be all Beggy Mitchell saying, please give me some more money. Please let my gym stay open. There's other industries that haven't got that benefit. And there's some gyms that don't have members paying. And there's some gyms that fell beneath the furlough and the grant schemes and things like that. And those gyms are suffering. And some of them have got really good coaches and really good members. And so when I just saw all, I guess the point you asked me was, at the end of the day, it was really inflammatory for me.
Yeah.
And you can't say anything publicly without looking like an absolute villain about that. But like, just see the 600,000 people need help and do better.
Help them. Yeah, exactly.
Because if your gyms don't open again, if for some reason this is a super long-winded thing, and then there's going to be like, COVID-21 and COVID X, these 600,000 people still need you to lead them.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly it.
I don't care how many tanks you drive around Parliament or whatever those guys did, like, great on them. But like, I don't care what you're protesting. Like, 600,000 people still need your help. I don't care what newspaper and what Instagram account you're on. Help some people.
Yeah.
You might not be able to make a post out of it. Anyway, I'm getting angry now.
Getting you riled up. Yeah, I think that's huge though. It's like, if you put the people first and actually help them with the problem that you're preaching about, rather than just preaching about how helpful you could be with the problem. It's like, you don't, brick and mortar is nice. And like, I work in a lovely gym here and the facility is phenomenal, but like, the people still need the help now, whether the gym's open or not. So it's on us as coaches to definitely do our best with that. On that then, like, expanding out from it, like, what do you think? You've obviously given a lot of like free workouts away at the minute, and you've been working with Bulldog Gear and now with Andrew Tracy, doing like ebooks and stuff. What do you think, if anything, is the most important thing for people to be working on for general health and fitness? Like, don't think about maybe like elite level athletes, but maybe more like the clientele I have in the gym here, or we have in the gym here, is like people who work 8 to 10 rather than 9 to 5. Like, they have big long days, and 4 to 5 days a week they just want to blow off some steam. What would you recommend that they focus on, or how would they break up their training?
When I don't know if you'd seen, but I did a document with the Fell CrossFit.
Yes.
Yeah. And when we looked at, we had this conversation, and it was quite simple. It was looking at the fitness pyramid, which is mindset at the bottom, nutrition. They're the below the iceberg ones that no one ever really focuses on. And they all link within one of the, and then gymnastics. Well, sorry, then metabolic conditioning, then gymnastics.
Yeah. What do you mean by metabolic conditioning?
Sorry?
What do you mean by metabolic conditioning for those who maybe don't know what that means? What's an example?
I just think, well, like, we call it energy system work and things like that, but it's your aerobic capacity, your ability to breathe in a workout, or anaerobic, which is your, like, without oxygen. So your ability to create power, generate movement in a state without oxygen. You still got to breathe, but without oxygen is the main fuel source. So very simply put, really long workouts, some short workouts. And, in terms of fighting chronic illnesses, and in terms of what CrossFit talks about, that's the main thing it talks about. The movements are secondary.
Yeah.
The actual conditioning or the time domains, they're the key to unlocking them, right? Like, it's about focusing different sessions on different time domains.
Yeah.
And that might mean a really long workout. It might mean a super long walk, something that's super just, high paced 4-hour jog, walk, whatever you'd like to do, to a 20-minute workout. Then breaking it down to something a little bit kind of somewhere between the two, where it's like an 8 to 12-minute workout to keep it really simple. And then we start to talk about shorter workouts, 7 minutes intervals, ones on, one offs, twos on, two offs, those kind of things. And it's about mixing those up and giving people kind of exposure to all of the different demands and energy demands to keep their system improving and their system moving forward and their system really healthy.
Yeah.
And, this is the key thing when people are talking about staying fit and healthy to fight COVID. Well, that's your metabolic system. COVID doesn't care if you can do a thruster. It doesn't care if you can do a chest to bar pull-up. Like, I know we're talking about a virus, like a respiratory virus. It doesn't really care. What it does care about, what it does struggle with, is people who are fit and healthy.
Yeah.
And that comes from fitness work, which comes from metabolic conditioning, or simply put, some long workouts and some short workouts and some interval workouts. And about mixing those up so that you're getting exposed to a little bit of all of them. So I think the key focus here is with training is to stay there. And then above that is gymnastics. And I think instead of looking at it like gymnastics, like, hey, it's a bunch of movements like bar muscle ups and it's this. If you look at the Olympics, actually, most gymnastics sports don't even do any of those things. You know, you don't see somebody, you know, all like in the middle of a floor routine where they've done like a somersault and it's like, oh, now they've just done 21 butterfly pull-ups. They don't do that. They move their body through space.
Yeah.
Moving our bodies through space can increase, like with the yoga sessions, can increase range of motion, can help improve posture, can create strength, build muscular capacity, and can create all of these things without the need of any equipment.
Yeah.
You know, if we couple that back into, if you couple that back into, okay, well, exercise makes my mental health better, and food makes my mental health better, and eating well makes my fitness better, and fitness makes that worth it. Actually, we can become the gymless athlete.
You froze on me there. Oh, you're still here.
You still there?
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, where did we freeze?
The gymless athlete. We can become the gymless athlete.
That's it.
Yeah. Simple as that.
So how do we overcome an illness? We keep on training and we stay fitter and we continue to progress our training, even if it doesn't look like specific movements. Yeah. We keep moving well so that we don't fester and tighten up and stiffen up. We improve our mobility and range. We take control of our nutrition, which will help with our mental health and our fitness, and we look after our mental well-being.
Spot on.
And looking after your mental well-being is a workout. You know, I hear a lot of people saying, oh, well, I do some work on my mental health. Are you frozen up again? Are you still there?
No, I'm still here. Sorry. Yeah. I'm just paying attention.
You still there?
Yeah.
Oh,
can you hear me?
Sorry. Sorry. So a lot of people are saying, I want to work on my mental health, or I want to do these things. And I've read something and I saw, you know, I liked a bunch of daily Stoic posts on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not working on your mental health.
Yeah.
You know, going for walks, nature, breathing exercises. If you are someone who struggles with mental health, reach out to people. Yes, that might cost you money, but if you can afford to keep paying your gym £90 a month, you can probably afford a therapist once a month, like, you know, or a counselor, or you can seek a mindset coach, someone like Limitless Coaching to help you with some life stuff. Like, you can seek these people, like, you know, there's no shame in reaching out and trying to improve yourself. So, you know, if you really want to train your mind and you really want to get a better headspace in, don't worry about the stigma of what anyone else thinks. Like, you know, all the Kardashians you want to be have all got a therapist. Deal with it. Seek help, seek support, and spend time working on the mind.
Yeah. I think that's dead important.
And I think,
so just to summarize, sorry, go on.
No, it's fine. I think it's just delayed.
Yeah. Just to summarize what you were saying there about training, what people need to do now, just so I can get my clients to come on board with this a little bit better, because they'll complain about it. People should be doing longer than they think style workouts. That can be walking, running, and whatever. Then they should be doing longer than they think gym style workouts, where they can throw in whatever movements, and then some sort of short interval style stuff as well.
100%.
Hope everyone's listening to that. Cool. Something you touched on there as well then is nutrition. And you've got a nutrition company with the most perfect name ever for it, and it's called Fend for Yourself Nutrition. Like, that's obviously very, very explanatory in what you're looking to get from that with people. Like you want them to be a bit more autonomous and be able to and not rely on you in the long term. But what are you doing with that, and what's the goals with it? What's the plans?
I haven't really got a plan. I've got an idea that I want to stick with.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you just said. It's over the years, you start somewhere, right? I started with a stick in training, and certainly with nutrition, we started with a sense of control. Yeah. And, that level of control became, I work with you, you rely on me to give you your macronutrients. But what we need to do is we need to release that control and start to give people, be there as a level of accountability. Yeah. But whilst we're doing this, we need to educate people, and we need to help people understand, and again, the very basic language about what it means, what the words mean, so that they're not confusing, they're not difficult, they're not hard to understand. People don't need a PhD in nutrition to understand what's on their plate in front of them, and they shouldn't do. So we take them from an element of control, and then we just give them a level of accountability, and then overall, over the period, is give them a level of autonomy. Yeah. So they can fend for themselves. They can get the food that they need. They can also understand how to do it for other people around them. And when I say that, I mean, like, if I help you with your nutrition, and one day you start a family, you should be able to take that knowledge really simple without saying, oh gosh, I better hire a nutrition coach for all my family now. Like, no, you shouldn't. Yeah. You should be able to have that autonomy and go away. The problem is that people's starting point is, well, it's all over the shop usually. But I've seen diet plans create very neurotic behavior. Yeah. And it's not an attitude to food that I agree with. I think when you start taking your scales to restaurants, unless you're competing, at a high level, I don't think it's needed. Yeah. Seeing people get stressed out about not being like a gram here and a gram there. And I've seen behavior around food, demonizing food, bad attitudes to food. And I just think it just creates a really bad eating culture. Yeah. So my plan is to keep developing and keep working on a really simple system that can help guide people through that journey. And my longer term goal for that would be that I have a bunch of people I work with that are with me no longer than a year. Oh, yeah. Unless there is moments where if you went to me, hey, Paul, I'm going to compete in a strongman competition in a year, then I might need to take over control and take over, you become accountable to me again. Yeah. Because there's a specific goal. But then we could just be like, yeah, but now we know the process to get you, we know a process to get you back to where you needed to be. Yeah. And then I catch and release. And, so it's kind of to be honest, it's such a simple concept, but it's something that I feel is lacking. And like everything I do, I'm interested in art and design and everything. And I think culture with food is really important. Yeah. You don't say to somebody, oh, I had this really nice romantic meal in Paris. Yeah. But I brought my own broccoli in a Tupperware. That would be horrendous. You don't want people to have those experiences with food. You want people to appreciate culture, appreciate appreciate taste, to appreciate the moment, to appreciate going on holiday to another country, and to be able to taste their cuisine and have every time you have it be a memory of this place you went to, not just the smell of a Tupperware party.
Yeah, I think a big influence on that, and part of the problem is people look up to the elite and the best of the best, and they're watching fucking Catherine David's daughter on YouTube, and how whenever she has a snack, she snacks on a raw pear, and that's a third of her calories for the day. And it's like, yeah, that's all well and good what she does, but she's got this one really, really, really specific goal that she sacrifices the rest of her life for. You don't do that. You've got 3 kids. You work 10 hours a day. Like, be realistic with this here. You have to live a little, like if you are in Paris or Rome or whatever, like have a glass of wine, spend a bit of money on it, eat the pasta, eat the pizza, and enjoy it rather than measuring out your fucking broccoli. Like, what a miserable way to live. Horrendous.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, and there's times and there's moments for that kind of eating and that kind of level of control for certain people and certain athletes. There's certainly often a stage where people need to start tracking to understand basically the consequence of what they're putting in their mouth.
Yeah.
You know, I had a conversation with a client today, and she put a big spoonful of peanut butter on her food and then was like, oh, I never realized it was like 200 calories or something. And I was like, cool, you can have it, but that's the just that I could maybe think of a better 200 calories.
Yeah.
But it's not my food, it's hers. And, you know, and these are the conversations, and I kind of described it quite simply. It's like, you get £300 to spend on clothes on a night out. Like, if you spend £290 on a Gucci belt, you're buying trousers from Primark, you know?
Yeah.
If you use all of your calories on a pizza for tea, you know, you kind of made that decision, and that's cool, you know,
Yeah.
or make it work, or accept the fact you don't want your goal. And I don't care. Like, I don't care if that's what you do. And I hear a lot of people saying, you know, I saw someone post the other day, oh, calories, I don't believe in calories. Not all calories are equal. And it's like, you're right. Different foods have different nutrients. Some are better for you, some aren't as good for you. People have allergies and all sorts of things. But at the end of the day, trying to confuse food, and again, that's creating a us and them. I know so much, you don't.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the campfire, the gym you've been in is in, and I've said this a few times recently, is in an area where food poverty is high. Yeah, exactly. I was having a conversation with a guy who was an asylum seeker, and he didn't have very much money, and he relied a lot on food banks, and he didn't have a choice about the food that got on his plate. So I don't need you on the internet telling him that a calorie is not a calorie.
Yeah.
I don't need you on the internet telling him the food that he's consuming is wrong for him. You know, perhaps the food banks could donate something more nutritious, and maybe it could all be three course meals with all the right macronutrient splits, but it's not.
Yeah.
And then you're asking the entire population to become healthy when you're telling them information, you're telling people information that is irrelevant and they can't control. So, you know, maybe we should just stop putting out complex information to try and make ourselves look more intelligent to get more clients.
Keep it simple.
Instead, just make loads of cool wolf logos.
Exactly, more logos. Deadly, man. Just to finish up then, I don't know how much you want to divulge, but like, what's the plan? What's in the pipeline? What are you up to? What's in the future for Paul Warrior and Campfire and Fend for Yourself Nutrition and Bun? Or is it top secret?
I think it's the things that we've talked about tonight.
Yeah.
I think it's time to find answers.
Nice.
I think it's time to tackle. I think I'd love to continue to help develop people who are maybe at the peak of their sport, because I do enjoy that, and that is again a selfish goal. But I like the people, that the athletes that I get to communicate with, and at the moment just having general discussions with about what reaching their highest potential looks like. But I think that has to be sandwiched with a dose of reality of the other problems that we've got.
Yeah.
And that's some of the things that we've addressed tonight.
Savage.
Because it's one easy thing for me to poke holes in everything.
Yeah.
It's one thing for me to poke holes in everything, but without answers, you know, I'm just poking holes and that's it.
That's not always the best thing. Can't just poke holes. Dude, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was great to see you again and talk to you. Where can the fans find you? If they're on social medias, on the internet, where are you?
There's no fans. Paul_warrior___.
If you go onto my page, I've tagged him a few times in the odd place. You're always there.
Good man.
Dude, thank you so much. Cheers.